I never imagined my marriage would unravel with the sting of my wife's hand across my face, right there in front of a crowd, her friends, my friends, and even her new guy, the one whose tooth I'd end up knocking out. It's wild how things fall apart. That night, I was surrounded by about 20 people, some I'd known for years, others I barely recognized, and one cocky jerk who'd soon be spitting blood. It all went down on a Friday. We were at Ryan's place, because Vanessa, my wife, insisted we show up for his birthday. She made it sound like it'd be a laid-back evening, just a few drinks, some chit-chat, maybe a little karaoke if things got wild. Honestly, I wasn't feeling it. Work had chewed me up and spit me out that week, and something about Vanessa's mood had been off. She was distant, but at the same time, way too hyped about this casual night. She spent 2 hours getting ready, cycling through 3 different outfits before finally settling on this short, red dress I hadn't seen in years. It hugged her in all the right places and practically screamed for attention. I remember tossing out a half-serious joke, "So, who are you trying to impress tonight, Ryan or me?" She shot me a look that could kill. "Don't be so insecure. Maybe try looking like you're actually alive for once." Looking back, I should have seen it coming. As soon as we got to the party, Vanessa vanished. 5 minutes in, and she was gone. I ended up stuck with Greg and his wife, nursing a lukewarm beer and pretending to care about their dog's kidney issues. But my mind wasn't in the conversation. I kept scanning the room, looking for Vanessa. Eventually, I spotted her out by the patio, whispering to some guy I'd never seen before. He had that gym bro look, tight shirt, flashy watch, the kind of swagger you get from lifting weights but never cracking a book. Vanessa was leaning in close, laughing a little too loud, her hand lingering on his arm longer than it should have. My stomach twisted into knots. I walked over, trying to keep it cool. "Vanessa," I said, forcing a smile, "aren't you going to introduce me?" She barely glanced my way. "Oh, right. This is Chad. We work out together." Chad gave me this smug grin and stuck out his hand like he was doing me a favor. "Yeah, we've been hitting the gym all month," he said. "Your wife's a beast in there." "A beast, huh?" I shook his hand, maybe a little too firmly. "Good to know." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "God, can you not be weird for 5 minutes?" That was all I needed. I didn't need to check her phone or follow her around. The way she acted around him, the way she laughed, touched him, looked at him, it was all right there. She was cheating, plain as day. I tried to keep my cool, so I walked away to get some air. But 10 minutes later, I found them again, this time in the kitchen. Her hand was on his chest, and he was tracing her jaw with his finger. That was it for me. My blood was boiling. "Vanessa," I called out, loud enough for everyone to hear, "can we talk for a second?" She turned around slow, like I was just some annoying stranger. "Not now. We're in the middle of something. You're my wife. We need to talk." And that's when it happened. She walked right up to me, put on this sweet little smile, and slapped me, hard. The whole room went dead quiet. "Don't you ever embarrass me like this again," she hissed. Chad was standing behind her, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. Someone in the crowd laughed, someone else gasped. I didn't even think, I just reacted. I shoved past Vanessa and drove my fist straight into Chad's mouth. I felt his tooth crack against my knuckle. He crumpled onto the counter, blood pouring from his mouth. Everything exploded after that. Vanessa started screaming, people grabbed at me, someone yelled to call the cops. Chad was moaning, clutching his face. I didn't care. I didn't even flinch. I turned to Vanessa and said, "You think making a fool out of me in front of everyone makes you look strong? All you did was show everyone what kind of person you really are." She just stood there, breathing hard, mascara running down her cheeks, shaking, whether it was from anger or shame, I couldn't tell. I didn't stick around to find out. I walked out, left the party behind, and drove off in silence. There was no way I was going home. Not yet. That slap wasn't just a cheap shot, it was her way of making a statement, loud and clear. She was telling me, I don't respect you anymore. I've moved on. You're nothing to me now. But what she didn't realize was that she'd just crossed a line, and the next time we talked, it wouldn't be about patching things up. No, it'd be about calling it quits for good. She was about to find out just how cold I could get when I was pushed too far. I didn't get a wink of sleep that night. Instead, I found myself parked outside this old diner on the edge of town, just staring at the flickering neon sign through my windshield. My cheek still stung from where she'd slapped me, and my knuckles were split open, the skin raw and aching every time I moved my hand. But honestly, I welcomed that pain. It was something real, something honest, unlike the lie I'd been living in for months. Every moment from that night kept replaying in my head like some twisted movie, her laughing, the way she looked at that guy, his smug grin, and that slap. That damn slap. I kept thinking, who does that to their husband? Who humiliates the person who stood by them through thick and thin? And for what? Some gym fling with a guy who probably spends more time on his hair than he does reading a book. Around 3 in the morning, I called my brother. I just needed to hear a voice that wouldn't try to make me feel crazy. He picked up, groggy. You okay, man? He mumbled. Not even close, I told him. She slapped me in front of everyone. Then I decked the guy she's been sleeping with. I'm pretty sure she's been cheating for a while. There was a long pause. Where are you? He finally asked. Sitting outside Joe's diner. Just, sitting. He let out a sigh. Come crash at my place. Don't go home tonight. So that's what I did. And when I walked into his apartment, the look on his face said it all. I wasn't losing my mind. I wasn't being dramatic. I'd been betrayed, plain and simple. The next morning, I headed back to the house. I felt calm, almost detached, like I was on some kind of mission. She wasn't home, but her purse and her laptop were sitting right there. I dropped onto the couch, opened up her laptop, and started digging. Passwords? Please. She used to say couples shouldn't have secrets, so I figured she wouldn't mind. I started scrolling through her emails, and that's when I found messages to someone named Chad W. Not just Chad. Chad. No wonder I couldn't find him on social media. Last time I got suspicious, she'd changed his name in her contacts. I opened up the messages, and there it was, last night was wild. I can still feel you on my thighs. Wish I could stay tangled up with you forever. Ryan's party is perfect timing. He's so clueless he won't even notice. Let's mess with him a little. Just for fun. That last line hit me like a punch to the gut. Fun. I was just a joke to her. A prop in her little drama. Something to laugh at while she played the villain with her idiot sidekick. I kept scrolling, dozens of messages, photos, voice notes, even videos. She wasn't just cheating, she was showing off, bragging to her friends. Even her sister was in on it. They all laughed about me behind my back. And you know what? I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat there, staring at the screen, feeling this cold numbness wash over me. The woman I'd built a life with, the one I'd worked overtime for, held when her dad passed, celebrated every anniversary with, she was gone. In her place was someone I barely recognized, someone who seemed to get a kick out of tearing me down. About 2 hours later, she strolled in like nothing had happened, sunglasses on, coffee in hand. Oh, you're home, she said, her voice flat as ever. Did you spend the night somewhere, playing the drama queen? I didn't bother answering. I just turned her laptop around so she could see the screen, all her dirty secrets right there in the open. She froze for a second, her lips twitching. Go ahead, I said. Tell me it's photoshopped, or old, or that you got hacked. I'm dying to hear which lie you'll go with this time. She didn't even blink. She just scoffed and said, "So, you finally grew a pair and checked. Took you long enough." That's when I stood up that I kept my voice steady, not letting her see how much I was shaking inside. "How long's this been going on?" I asked. She took a slow sip of her coffee, like she was bored with the whole thing. "A few months, maybe longer." "Why do you care?" She shrugged, not even trying to soften the blow. "Honestly, I was bored." "You're boring." "Chad, yeah, Chad, he actually makes me feel alive. You haven't touched me like a real man in over a year. You just come home, eat, sleep, and gripe about work. That's not a husband, that's just a routine." I just stared at her, trying to wrap my head around how cold she'd become. "So that gives you the right to treat me like garbage?" I asked. She just smirked. "No, it gives me the right to find someone who reminds me I'm still a woman." I could feel the anger boiling up, my fists clenching so tight my nails dug into my palms. But I didn't lash out. I wasn't going to stoop to her level. I just walked past her, opened up the hall closet, and pulled out my old suitcase. She watched me, almost entertained. "You're really going for the dramatic exit, huh?" I zipped up the bag. "No, I'm just doing the only thing that makes sense, leaving before I become someone I can't stand." She cocked her head, still playing it cool. "Where are you gonna go?" "Somewhere peaceful," I said, not looking back. She let out a laugh. "You'll come crawling back. You always do." But this time, she was dead wrong. Because once a woman decides you're beneath her, the only thing left to do is rise up and leave her behind. I crashed at my brother Ben's place for a week. The first few nights, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her smirk, that slap, those messages. My mind kept looping the whole mess like some twisted highlight reel. Her words echoed in my head, "You haven't touched me like a man in a year. I'd rather walk through fire than ever lay a hand on her again." Ben didn't push for details. He just handed me a beer, ordered takeout, and sat with me in silence while we watched old sitcoms. He didn't need to ask, he could see it in the way I stared off into space, jaw clenched, hands twitching like I wanted to punch a hole in the wall. By the 5th day, I stopped flinching when her name came up. By the end of the week, I realized I needed closure, not for her, but for myself. So I decided to go back, not to talk or beg, but to collect my things and make it clear that this chapter was done. When I walked into the house, I half expected her to be waiting for me, maybe with fake tears, maybe with another slap, but the place was empty. Just her perfume hanging in the air, haunting the hallway. I packed up my stuff with the kind of focus you get when you're running on pure adrenaline: clothes, my watch, important papers, passport, my old guitar, and that little blue box where I kept all the anniversary letters I wrote, letters she never bothered to read. I took one last walk through the house, pausing in the bedroom, the kitchen, the porch where we used to sit on summer nights and talk about nothing. That life felt like it belonged to someone else now. As I was grabbing the last of my things, I found a folded note in her handwriting, tucked away in a drawer. I should have just tossed it, but curiosity got the better of me. It read, "If you're reading this, I guess you finally decided to leave. Maybe you thought I'd beg you to stay. But honestly, we ended a long time ago. You just didn't notice. You're a good guy, but good gets old. You were never dangerous, never exciting. Chad might not be perfect, but at least he makes me feel something. I hope you find someone who fits your safe little world." I never did. I actually laughed out loud, not because it was funny, but because it was so damn sad. One last jab from a woman who couldn't even face me with the truth, just scribbled it out on a piece of paper. I ripped it in half and tossed it in the trash, giving it about as much care as she gave our marriage. On my way out, I literally bumped into her. She pulled up in Chad's car, and I could see his busted lip still healing under a fresh bandage. She had her sunglasses on again, always hiding, always acting like she was above it all. "Oh, look," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, "the runaway returns." I didn't bother with a reply. She crossed her arms, looking me up and down. "You done with your little tantrum?" I stepped closer, meeting her gaze. "This isn't a tantrum, Vanessa." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "This is the last time you'll ever talk to me like I'm beneath you." Chad tried to get in a jab, chuckling from behind her. "What, you gonna start swinging again, tough guy?" I didn't even blink. "You still running your mouth with only 31 teeth?" That wiped the grin right off his face. Vanessa turned to him, all dismissive. "Let's just go inside, babe. He's not worth it." Chad followed her, still bleeding pride all over the driveway. But before she could walk away, I leaned in just close enough for her to hear. "You didn't break me, Vanessa. You set me free." She hesitated for a split second, like maybe she expected me to beg or fall apart. But I didn't. I just walked away, no yelling, no drama, just a quiet kind of freedom I hadn't felt in years. Back at Ben's place, I got on the phone with a lawyer. Divorce papers were in the works by the end of the week. It was a clean break, no kids, no shared debt, no house to fight over. I'd made sure of that early on, and she always said I was controlling for it. I called it being smart. She didn't put up a fight, probably thought she was getting the better end of the deal. Let her think that. The real win was waking up without her poison in my life. No more lies, no more pretending, no more slaps. Just me, finally able to breathe and start picking up the pieces. The divorce moved at lightning speed, almost too fast, like she wanted it all wiped away before her next Instagram post. 3 weeks later, we had a date to sign everything. My lawyer even joked it was the smoothest split he'd ever seen. "Almost like she couldn't wait to get rid of you," he said. I didn't laugh. It wasn't just the cheating that stung, it was how easily she moved on, like 5 years together meant nothing. All that time, tossed aside for some sweaty gym bro with a busted lip and a half-baked smile. What really got under my skin, though, was how she started painting me as the bad guy. She'd post these passive-aggressive quotes online, stuff like, "Sometimes you have to let go of toxic people to grow," or, "Strong women don't explain themselves to small men." Small men. That one hit different. I was the one who paid her mom's hospital bills when insurance wouldn't cover the surgery. I cleared her student loans before the collectors started calling. I bought her first car, held her hand through panic attacks, sat through every mind-numbing dinner with her zombie cousins, and smiled through it all. But sure, I was the small one. The day we signed the divorce papers, she showed up looking like she was headed to a runway show, tight black skirt, heels that looked like they hurt, red lipstick that screamed for attention. She didn't even look at me, just breezed past in her sunglasses, inside, for God's sake, and sat on the other side of the room. The lawyer read through everything, asked us to confirm. She didn't flinch, just nodded like she was signing up for a new gym membership. When it was over, she stood up, grabbed her bag, and said, "Well, that was easier than I thought." Then she looked right at me and added, "Guess you finally learned how to let go." I had 1,000 things I wanted to say, wanted to call her out for being a coward, a manipulator, a leech who drained the best out of me and tossed the rest when it stopped shining. But I just smiled. "You were never that hard to let go of," I said. It just took me a while to realize it. For the first time in weeks, her mask slipped. She didn't have a comeback. I left her standing there, heels wobbling, sunglasses slipping, and I never looked back. But of course, it wasn't really over. 2 days later, she called me. I let it ring out. She called again, then sent a text, "Can we talk, please?" It's not what I thought it would be. I just stared at the screen for a long time. She wanted to talk. No chance. When the fun started to fade, when reality set in, when Chad turned out to be just another regular guy with bad jokes and an empty fridge, I didn't answer. She sent another message, I messed up. Her next message popped up, I know that now. I didn't realize what I had. That one actually made me laugh, like, a real, honest laugh, right there in my apartment, surrounded by half-packed boxes and the kind of quiet that used to feel lonely but now just felt peaceful. It was the first time in months I'd laughed for real. She finally figured it out, good for her. But some lessons come too late to matter. That night, she sent one last text, I miss you. I stared at it for a while, thinking about all those nights I'd sat in our bedroom, wondering why she barely touched me anymore, why her kisses felt like chores, why her phone was always face down. I remembered the slap, the party, Chad's smug face, the way she looked at me after humiliating me in front of everyone, like I was just some sad puppy begging for scraps. I blocked her number, not because I was angry, but because I finally got it. You don't have to burn bridges when the other person already torched your whole world. Sometimes, you just walk away and let the ashes settle. 3 months went by, enough time for the dust to clear, enough time for me to start putting myself back together in ways I didn't even know I needed. I moved into a new place downtown. It was smaller, quieter, but it was all mine. I picked up a used couch, bought a coffee maker that actually worked, and started cooking for myself again. At first, I thought it would feel like just getting by, but it turned out to be something better, control, peace. No more shouting, no more tension every time a phone buzzed, no more cold shoulder across the bed. Just space. Just me. People kept asking questions. Co-workers wanted the gossip, what happened with Vanessa? Friends checked in, you sure you're okay? My mom, bless her, still held out hope. Sweetheart, maybe she just got confused. People make mistakes. I wanted to tell her everything, the slap, the cheating, the lies, the way Vanessa looked me dead in the eye and called me boring after I'd given her the best years of my life. But I didn't. I just said, it's over, Mom. Let her keep her fairy tales. I was done pretending. One Saturday morning, I walked into the gym I used to avoid, yeah, the same one where Vanessa met Chad. I wasn't there to see them, if that's what you're thinking. I went because my body had become this sad metaphor for everything she left behind, weak, neglected, tired. I needed to feel strong again, not just in my arms, but in my backbone. So I threw myself into it, weights, cardio, discipline. Not to look better, but to feel better, like I was reclaiming every bit of power she chipped away with every snide comment and fake smile. And you know what? Something funny happened. I started getting noticed, not just by women, though, yeah, some of them looked, but by myself. I started seeing myself again. Not the worn-out husband trying to fix someone who didn't want fixing, but a guy with some fire left in him. Then, one afternoon, I ran into her, Vanessa, at the grocery store we used to shop at together. She was in the frozen foods aisle, wrestling with a cart that squeaked with every push, all by herself. No Chad, no heavy makeup, no attitude. Our eyes met. She blinked, and I just nodded. She walked over, slow, like she wasn't sure if she should even try. Hey, she said. Hey. She looked thinner, not fit, but hollow, like life had taken something out of her. Her voice didn't have that sharp edge anymore, it was softer, almost tired. You look good, she said. I gave her a polite smile. Thanks. There was this awkward pause. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, something she always did when she was nervous. I heard you blocked my number. I did. She let out a quick, awkward laugh. Yeah, I guess I deserved that. I didn't say anything. I moved out of Chad's place, she said, like she was hoping I'd ask her why. I didn't bite. It wasn't what I thought it would be. There it was again, her favorite excuse. Like realizing the grass wasn't greener made up for the way she'd stomped all over mine. I'm not here to make a scene, she said quickly. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I looked at her, really looked. She was still beautiful, you know, still the same woman I'd once held close under 100 different skies, back when I thought love could fix anything. But now, looking at her, I finally saw what was underneath all that beauty, the rot, the selfishness, the way she'd smash things to pieces and call it, starting over. I looked her in the eye and said, "You weren't sorry when it counted, Vanessa. You slapped me in front of everyone. You humiliated me just for the hell of it. And now, when it's quiet and you're alone, that's when you're sorry." She dropped her gaze to the floor. I was stupid. I thought I wanted something wild, something exciting. And now I'd give anything to go back, but I know it's too late. She was right. It was way too late, and we both knew it. She took a step back, her voice barely above a whisper. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. Take care of yourself. She turned to leave, but I called out, "Vanessa." She stopped, waiting. Next time you're bored, try picking up a new book, not someone's life. She didn't say a word, just nodded, slow and heavy, and walked off into the noise and bright lights of the supermarket. As for me, I grabbed a steak, paid in cash, and went home alone. And for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. Life got real quiet after that, like I'd finally closed the last page of a book I'd been stuck in for years. I didn't rush into anything new. I just let the silence hang around, let it breathe. I stopped checking her social media, actually deleted the app for good. I didn't care what she posted, who she was with, or what kind of inspirational nonsense she was quoting. She could rewrite the story however she needed to sleep at night. I was too busy living mine. I picked up new habits, started running in the mornings, kept a journal, drank my coffee black out on the balcony while the sun came up. Stuff I used to think was for lonely people, but now I realized it was exactly what I needed, room to hear my own thoughts without anyone twisting them into something ugly. A few weeks later, Ben and I hit up a bar downtown. Nothing wild, just two brothers, a couple beers, and a break from all that quiet. That's where I met Grace. She wasn't flashy, no designer bag, no Instagram filters, just a green sweater, a messy bun, and these eyes that looked like they'd seen the whole world and didn't care if it liked her back. She laughed easy, talked straight, and when I told her I was divorced, she didn't even blink. She just asked me, "Did it break you or build you?" I had to think about it. "Both," I said. But the building part came later. We talked for hours, about music, books, weird dreams, all the stuff people usually keep to themselves. I didn't try to impress her. I didn't feel like I had to prove I'd survived something. I just existed, and she seemed to like me that way. We went out again, and again. She didn't ask much about Vanessa, just listened when I needed to talk. The one time I brought it up, I said, she was poison, beautiful, sweet, but poison all the same. Grace just nodded. "And you? You still healing?" "Every day," I told her. She smiled and said, "Then you're already ahead of most." That stuck with me. For the first time, I realized I wasn't just getting over Vanessa, I was finding my way back to myself, piece by piece. The scars were still there, sure. I'd never forget the slap, the betrayal, the way she looked at me when she hurt me and didn't even flinch. But those things stopped owning me. They became part of my story, not the whole thing. One night, I got a letter in the mail, no return address. Inside was a photo of me and Vanessa on our wedding day, both of us grinning like idiots, and a note, "You'll always be my greatest mistake. I hope you find something real." I tore it in half, not out of anger, not out of spite, but because it just didn't matter anymore. She could keep her regrets. I wasn't carrying them for her. I'd survived hell in a red dress, and now I was finally walking towards something better. Not perfect, not flashy, just real. And for me, that was enough. That summer showed up in a hurry, like it couldn't wait to get started. It's funny how time speeds up when you're actually living again, when you're not just surviving, but really breathing. Weeks started slipping by like days, and all those ghosts that used to haunt my mornings started to fade, losing their edges until they were just shadows in the background. Grace and I spent those warm months doing nothing that would ever make it into a movie, but everything that felt honest and real: road trips with no plan, late-night grocery runs where we'd end up dancing in the aisles like a couple of kids, dinners that went up in smoke and turned into pizza on the living room floor. It was messy, unpredictable, and absolutely perfect in its own way. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was holding my breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I didn't need Grace to fix me or fill some hole. I wasn't broken anymore. I just needed someone who'd walk beside me, not over me. And that's exactly what she did. One evening, we were out on my balcony, watching the sun sink behind the city skyline. Grace was curled up with a glass of wine, looking at me with that knowing look she had, like she could read my mind before I even spoke. You ever think about how close you came to wasting your whole life? I asked her. She didn't even flinch. You didn't waste it. You survived it. I grinned. Yeah, but man, I stuck around way too long in a place I should have run from. She just shrugged. You were loyal. That's not a weakness. It just wasn't appreciated. I looked at her for a long time, the kind of look you give when you realize the person in front of you isn't trying to fix you or change you. They just see you, as you are, and that's enough. She reached over and traced her thumb along my knuckles, the same hand that once broke Chad's tooth, the same hand that used to shake with anger, now resting easy in hers. You ever hear from her again? Grace asked, her voice soft. Not a word, I said. And I hope it stays that way. And it did. Vanessa disappeared from my life like she'd never been there at all. I'd hear little things through the grapevine: she moved to a new city, dated someone else, then nobody, then quit her job. None of it mattered. It was like watching smoke try to hold a shape, there, then gone. Still, every now and then, a memory would sneak up on me: her laugh at the dinner table, the way she traced circles on my chest when we watched movies, that night we danced barefoot in the kitchen with no music, half drunk and happy. Those memories stung, not because I missed her, but because I realized just how much of myself I'd given to someone who was only pretending to love me. That's the part nobody warns you about. It's not the affair, or the slap, or the public humiliation. It's the moment you realize you were real the whole time, and she never was. Months slipped by, and before I knew it, a whole year had passed. I didn't mark the anniversary of the divorce with a toast or some cryptic quote on social media. I didn't even think about it, really. I just woke up, poured myself a cup of coffee, kissed Grace on the shoulder, and laced up my shoes for a run. That's what real healing looks like, not some dramatic blaze of revenge, but a quiet, steady peace. And one day, you realize you've stopped looking back. You don't wonder if she regrets it, or if she misses you, or if she lies awake at night thinking about what she lost. Because the truth is, you just don't care anymore. And that indifference, that hard-earned, beautiful indifference, is the loudest kind of freedom you'll ever know. It hit me on a Sunday morning, one of those slow, gentle starts to the day. The light was soft, slipping through the curtains, and Grace was still asleep beside me, her hand resting on my chest like it was always meant to be there. I just lay there for a while, soaking in the calm, no tension, no storm brewing under the surface, just peace. That's when it really sank in: I was done. Not just with Vanessa, but with all of it: the pain, the endless loops in my head, the what-ifs and rewinds, the pointless scenes I'd replayed 1,000 times trying to figure out where I went wrong. The truth is, I didn't fail. I loved hard. I gave everything I had. I fought like hell to keep something alive that was always meant to die. That's not weakness. That's honor. Her betrayal didn't define me. That slap didn't break me. Her lies didn't bury me. I walked through fire, and I didn't just make it out, I came through better, stronger, more myself than I'd ever been before she showed up pretending to be someone she wasn't. If I could give any guy a piece of advice after what I went through, it'd be this: don't go chasing closure from the person who broke you. They don't have it. They never did. Closure isn't something they hand you, it's something you give yourself, the moment you finally see the truth without all the old feelings clouding your vision. She betrayed me. She humiliated me. She looked me in the eye and picked someone else, then tried to rewrite the story like I was the villain. But I don't carry her lies anymore. I carry the lessons. And the biggest one? When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I rolled out of bed, careful not to wake Grace, and padded barefoot out to the balcony. The morning was quiet and clean, like the world was finally breathing easy right along with me. I stood there, feeling the breeze, and I knew, deep down, with absolute certainty, I'd never go back. Not even in my mind. That chapter wasn't home anymore. This was.